Merry Christmas, everybody. My house is still covered in Halloween decorations. Anyway, the 1966 How the Grinch Stole Christmas special is a personal favorite of mine. You take the lyrical genius of Dr. Seuss and combine it with the animation genius of Chuck Jones to make one of the best holiday specials of all time. Like sure, it was based off the book, but it's a special that really cements its legacy as a classic. And then in 2000, Ron Howard made a movie about it, and it was pretty bad. But it was a huge hit at the box office, so you know what that means. More Dr. Seuss movies coming at you, baby! Yeah. The following culmination of events have led to The Grinch getting remade into another movie, this time as an animation from the same people behind The Lorax. In an opinion that I'm sure is original and not shared by countless other review channels, I'm not very big on Illumination Entertainment. I find their films to be at best adequate and at worst bad, but if there's one thing for certain, they're not making them for the art. They make them for the returns! They make them to see how much it can crank out the mass public's wallet. Sure, other animation studios do that sometimes, often to poor results, but Illumination does it constantly. It's their mission to make the most mass appeal product on the lowest budget possible, in order to rank in the dough! Even with that in mind, the fact that we were getting another Grinch was never going to be a sure thing. We already have the animated special, and we even have the Jim Carrey movie too. But yeah, that's the thing. Dr. Seuss never wanted his stuff to be turned into movies. Apparently his widow does, but like every film turned out to be awful. Like sure, Horn Hears a Who is technically the least bad out of all of them, but it still suffers quite a bit. So it's a pretty easy given that quality was never an option. But what's really ironic is the fact that this story of anti-materialism, of Christmas perhaps meaning a little bit more, is being produced by the most capitalistic, corporate, consumer-hoary studio ever to walk the earth. And this one is no exception. You got these Grinch billboards everywhere, like literally everywhere you go. You got these ads that play in front of every YouTube video. That rhymed. You got Grinch in the Olympics, got Grinch at IHOP, Grinch at Ebates, Grinch makeup, Grinch dog food, Grinch's green nuts, Grinch getting his blood test. It's like what they did with the Lorax, have this save the environment anti-corporate movie advertised to Mazda with Skyactiv technology.
Shake that bottom line.
Damn. Just realized now that I'm like 3 minutes into this review and I haven't even got to what I think about the movie itself. And honestly, what is there to say about it? It's a generic, pointless, cookie-cutter, unspecial product. I could have spent $10 staring at a blank screen, and I would have probably had the same level of engagement to it. They should have put that on a Grinch billboard. Now, if I were to give away spoilers, what would the point be? I'm assuming a large majority of people know of the Grinch story. And besides, the Illumination, you think they're gonna do something interesting or unexpected? The Grinch gave all the Who's down in Whoville syphilis and ran off with their presents. Yeah, I don't think so. I guess what I'll start out with is that this is probably one of the lamest Grinches I've ever seen portrayed in media. And there's quite a lot of Grinch media out there. For one thing, it's his voice. When they announced that Benedict Cummypants was voicing him, I was thinking, alright, that makes sense, give him the voice of a British thespian and all, but the one they went with is the weirdest, most nasal sounding voice possible. He sounds like Squilliam Fancy Son.
Today, we will do mean things, and we will do them in style.
Well, Squiddy, this is exactly how I pictured your band would look.
The other things that irk me are his design and personality. I'll talk more about the animation a little later, but like, the Grinch is supposed to be this angry, creepy, twisted menace with a heart 2 sizes too small who hates Christmas for all the decorations and music. And the noise. But here, he doesn't look remotely intimidating. If you compare his look, his expressions to like, not only the Chuck Jones special, but even the Jim Carrey movie, you'll pick up on just the range of emotions present on those faces, but every emotion on this face looks so bland and simplistic in comparison. And in terms of him being rotten, the impression you get on all the other adaptations is that he's just this monster who lives in a dark, dingy cave who uses his dog as a personal servant. He's an asshole and he enjoys it. While this Grinch is, at worst, kind of a dick, but is mostly a sort of grumpy, socially awkward guy. Like, he lives in a normal place. that's still inside a mountain. He treats his dog like a normal dog. He goes shopping. If anything, he's just a ripoff of Gru from Despicable Me by the same studio. Hell, the posters are even the same. And the Grinch isn't even a bad guy. There's literally one point where they capture this moose to be the one to guide their sleigh, and then once he discovers that the moose has a family, he's all like, go and be with your family. Like, wow, he really is a heel. Teeth all yellow? Look at his teeth! They're white! They look better than mine! So you're probably wondering why he really hates Christmas, right? Because remember, this is a movie, and those need motivations. So the reason why he wants to abduct the holidays and live in solitude is because he was an orphan. He grew up in an orphanage all by himself with no family to be with. And that is why the Grinch hates Christmas. Nothing worse than being an orphan on Christmas, huh kids? As long as you're not one of those, your Christmas is great. And so because of this, the Grinch acts like he's such an outcast in this society, but it's not like he's ostracized by the Who's. In the Jim Carrey one, the Who's are scared of him, albeit for stupid reasons, but they paint him as this weirdo that no one would want to be around with. Here, whenever he's walking around Whoville, nobody's scared of him, nobody tries to bother him, nobody even seems weirded out by him. There's even this sitcom neighbor who thinks the Grinch is his friend even though he tries everything to avoid him. You would think that the Grinch just hates people, which would make sense as there are scenes where that appears to be the case. But then there are scenes where he's looking down wistfully, wishing that he could be part of a crowd before remembering it's better this way. Like, why? I'm sure you would have no problem wanting to hang out with the Who's. Oh, and speaking of, there's this useless subplot with Cindy Lou Who, cause you gotta expand on her. She has a ragtag group of friends who are trying to trap Santa so she can personally wish him to help her single, overworked mother. Not sure how Santa's really gonna help you with that, kid. He, like, delivers the presents and stuff. So, of course, Grinch breaks into her house and she thinks he's Santa and they have a chat which causes Grinch to reconsider his actions. So when he sees everyone sing and gives back the presents and stuff, he's all like, my mind has changed thanks to that special little Who girl. Really, it could have been changed even without her, I think. I thought I hated Christmas, but it turns out I just hated being alone. No shit. And we end on a screaming goat meme. So animation-wise, there really isn't anything special to say. It's competent, but I do have issues with the character design. I already brought up the Grinch, but the Who's all look kinda ugly. They all have a very Illumination design, which is where most characters have small eyes and big mouths while conveying very little in personality. Cindy Lou looks like a goddamn Cabbage Patch Kid. Or a Garbage Pail one. But I guess they're less horrendous looking than the Who's in the Ron Howard version. Like, oh god. The slapstick here is so abundant and repetitive. We can't have kids taking a quiet moment or change of pace. Let's have the Grinch do a wacky pratfall and get hit by something. Also, this was the first time I was ever annoyed by the motion blur of a movie. On that opening shot of Whoville where the camera pans around the whole city up to and including the Grinch's mountain, there is so much of that blur on screen that it actually gave me a headache. I couldn't tell if it was the fault of the movie or the projector, but whatever it was, it's not a good sign if I can't even look at the screen. Well, after all this trashing, is there anything positive I could say about this product? Not much, but I guess I'll try. Some of the settings and backgrounds look pretty nice, with a good use of color. It's short. They did not give the Grinch a love interest, which, thank God. I'm glad they didn't do that. Again.
My heart belongs to someone else.
If I had to choose between which Grinch movie to go with, I'd go with the Seasick Crocodile. Technically neither. They're both pretty awful, but for surprisingly different reasons. The Ron Howard Grinch wasn't just badly written, but was also so visually ugly with a terrible color palette that makes the movie look like utter hell. While this Grinch is a lot brighter and brisker, it's so forgettable and substanceless that I'm getting bored just thinking about it. And even at that, I did occasionally get some entertainment value from Jim Carrey's Grinch. While both the script and direction were crap, there were moments where its physicality and timing did kinda shine through for me. So yeah, Grinch 2000 wins. This one's gonna make $1 billion and then fade away from people's memory. 2 out of 10.
every time you get drunk, we put up with this junk.
Word on the street is I'm losing my funk, my cool, my flow, my ho ho ho. But we can't let you steal the show.